Hey, what's going on? ZedBelinsky here. Thank you for joining me for another installment of my podcast. Today is December 21st, 2017. Hope you're doing well. So today I'll be talking to you about something called the Missing Germans, and essentially it's about a German family of 4 that were vacationing in the US and disappeared in Death Valley. A search and rescue fellow hears about it and decides to try to solve the mystery. Today's installment is brought to you by otherhand.org, so if you want you can go check out some of his other stuff. It's pretty interesting, kind of rabbit hole-esque. That being said, I hope you just sit back, unwind, relax, and enjoy the hunt for the Death Valley Germans, because I know I did. This is the tale of what for me was a rather remarkable adventure. It was assembled on the basis of my personal recollection and experience, emails, GPS logs, and some official documents. It represents solely the perspective and opinions of myself in my more lucid moments. It is in no way intended to represent the position of the Riverside Mountain Rescue Unit, nor any other agency mentioned. Further, my usual writing style tends to be somewhat lighthearted and flippant, which would be somewhat at odds with the serious and tragic nature of the incident being reported. I have attempted to remain sensitive to the underlying events, yet retain a certain level of casual narrative that some might find entertaining, and if not entertaining, then at least informative. As part of the due diligence, I need to add an important note. In the past, I've kept certain locations regarding this incident fairly well cloaked for a variety of reasons, explained as part of the narrative. Mainly, it's a very difficult, even dangerous area to get into, and there are a lot of armchair desert adventurers possibly tempted to try it. However, in the interest of completeness, I've decided to include images showing the GPS tracks of the various search efforts. I've also refrained from my favorite trick of photo reversing images of the site. What you see it what it was. At this point, there is nothing left at the site for souvenir hunters, so I see no need for maintaining its secrecy. Anyone reading of the difficulties encountered in this search should consider any visitation very carefully. As a point of reference, if you're not physically capable of doing a day hike to the top of the Mount Whitney and back, and aren't a skilled off-trail hiker, you should stay out of the area. My opinion anyway. That's a measure of how hard it is to get into the area on foot, and out, safely. At this point, I know the location and surroundings probably better than anyone, and I'm not going back. This area scares me just a bit. And so it begins. In the morning of October 21st, 1996, Death Valley National Park, abbreviated DVNP, Ranger Dave Brenner was aboard a military helicopter somewhere in the skies over the southerly part of Death Valley. He was part of a routine aerial surveillance looking for clandestine drug manufacturing labs in the backcountry. Around 11 a.m., he saw something unexpected, a vehicle in the wash of Anvil Canyon, approximately 2.4 miles downstream from Willow Spring, the head of Anvil Canyon. This was extremely odd for several reasons. First, there wasn't a real or legal road down Anvil Canyon any longer. At one time, Anvil Canyon had been the only route into Butte Valley, and used by the area's miners. But with the opening of the talc mines in Warm Spring Canyon to the north, and the creation of a good, well-graded dirt road to the talc mines for heavy trucks, the Butte Valley miners pushed an extension of the Warm Spring Road westward into Butte Valley, and the Anvil Canyon route regulated to a seldom-used byway. Then, in October of 1994, with the passage of the Desert Protection Act, Anvil Canyon was designated as part of an official wilderness area, thus prohibiting vehicle use in it. Not that the few locals seemed to adhere to the prohibition, as Anvil Canyon still received occasional, if illicit, use. The second piece of oddness in what Brenner was observing was that the vehicle appeared to be a standard passenger van. While Anvil Canyon could still be traveled by a competent four-wheel drive vehicle, if illegally, a passenger van was totally inappropriate and couldn't be expected to get far in that canyon. Yet, there it was. Upon landing nearby, Brenner inspected the vehicle. It was a green, 1996 Plymouth Voyager van with California license plates. It was covered up with considerable dust, as if it had been out there for some time. The van was clearly stuck in the wash, sunk up to its axles in the sand, with its 2 rear tires flattened and its left front tire also flat. Tracks left in the sand by the van suggested it had been driven at least 200 feet with flat rear tires. The van was locked, with no sign of the owner. Brenner noted the license number and reported it back to the DVNP headquarters. A quick check on the license plate with the California Highway Patrol, CHP, revealed the vehicle was reported stolen by the Los Angeles Police Department on September 10, 1996. The vehicle, owned by Dollar Rent-A-Car, had been rented to a group of 4 German tourists in Los Angeles on July 8, 1996. The vehicle had been due back to the rental agency in Los Angeles on July 26, but had never been returned. It was the rental agency's policy to wait at least 30 days past when a vehicle was due to report it stolen. Checking the names of the renters turned up an August 14th Interpol alert on them. They were Egbert Rimkus, 34, his son, George Weber, 11, Egbert's girlfriend, Cornelia Mayer, 28, and her son, Max Mayer, 4. Further investigation showed the group left Frankfurt and arrived in the United States at Seattle on July 8th, then immediately flew to Los Angeles where they picked up their rental van. Because Egbert could not produce his driver's license, Cornelia was accorded as the driver. The van was due back on July 26th, and the group had tickets to TWA to Germany on July 27th. They were not on that flight, nor was there evidence of them leaving the USA. For the first week or so in the USA, the Germans based themselves in the San Clemente area of Southern California, doing normal tourist things. On July 12th, Egbert made a call to his bank in Dresden requesting $1,500 be wired to a Bank of America branch in San Clemente. The money ended up being sent to a Bank of America branch in Los Angeles. At this point, their travels became a bit vague, but the images on their recovered cameras suggested they traveled the California coast a bit, before ending up in Las Vegas and staying at the Treasure Island Hotel. On July 21st, Egbert faxed a request from the hotel to his ex-wife and son's mother, Heike Weber, requesting additional funds be sent to him. These funds were never sent. The party checked out of the Treasure Island Hotel on July 22nd and proceeded to Death Valley. Receipt records at the Furnace Creek Visitor Center show that on July 22nd, 2 copies of the booklet, Death Valley National Monument Museum text in the German language were sold. None were sold on July 23rd. A copy of this booklet was found in the abandoned van, which places the group at the DV Visitor Center sometime on July 22nd. Meanwhile, back at the van in Anvil Canyon, an investigation and search was beginning in earnest. The original search. On October 22nd, the day after the van's discovery, around 10 a.m., DVNP investigator Eric Inman was flown in via CHP helicopter to the site. He performed an initial search and photographed the location. Other than Dave Brenner's tracks from the previous day, no other footprints were visible. Some food wrappers were found near the van, as well as some fecal material and toilet paper, which are known as cat holes. At 11 a.m., Inman returned via the CHP helicopter to Badwater Road in Death Valley, where he met with representatives of the Inyo Sheriff's Department, Detective Jim Jones and Corporal Leon Boyer. Following discussion, the Inyo Sheriff's personnel proceeded to the van's location via vehicle, and Inman was flown back in around 1 p.m. With Sheriff's personnel present, Inman opened the van's doors and an examination of its contents began. While there were many items of interest, of particular note was an American flag labeled Butte Valley Stone Cabin. This cabin, also known as the Geologist Cabin, is located in Butte Valley, 4.1 miles westerly from the van's location in Anvil Canyon. This cabin is a comfortable shelter, somewhat stocked with food, with a great source of water adjacent to it, Anvil Spring. The flag had apparently been taken from the cabin and indicated the party had been to the cabin at some point. Some other items of note found in the van: 2 open bottles of beer, Bud Ice, and 1 empty bottle, 1 empty and 1 3/4 full bottle of bourbon, several empty large water and juice containers, luggage and clothing, numerous exposed rolls of 35mm film and a Praktica 35mm camera, 1 new Coleman sleeping bag in its box, and 1 empty Coleman sleeping bag box, a tent, a pipe with tobacco, a leather card carrier containing Swiss bank cards and a Citicorp card for Egbert, card from the Seahorse Resort in San Clemente, numerous toys, an unused compact spare tire and jack. Under the direction of the Inyo Sheriff's Department, the van was removed from the Anvil Canyon on October 23rd at about 2 p.m. by Miller's Towing of Lone Pine and stored at their impound lot. Back at the park headquarters, a review of visitor logbooks routinely collected by field rangers turned up a valuable clue. The visitor logbook for the Warm Spring mine site, located on the route between the Main Valley and Butte Valley, had an apparent entry by the group. Although difficult to read, on July 23rd it states in German, "We are going over the pass," and was signed Connie, Egbert, George, Max. The pass referred to in the logbook entry was almost certainly Mengel Pass, located a few miles from Anvil Canyon at the southwesterly end of Butte Valley, and the only means by which to cross the Panamint mountain range for many miles. However, it is an extremely rugged route, traversable by only the most competent four-wheel drive vehicle and driver. It would be impassable for vehicles such as the Germans were driving. Further investigation showed that the party had not stayed at the Furnace Creek Ranch or Inn, the Stovepipe Wells Resort, nor had registered at the Furnace Creek Campground. Their whereabouts between being at the DVNP Visitor Center on July 22nd and signing the Warm Spring Logbook on July 23rd were unknown at the time. On October 23rd at 10 a.m., the first searchers were in place. They included the China Lake Mountain Rescue Group, abbreviated CLMRG, 9 trackers from the Indian Wells Valley Search and Rescue Group, and 8 mounted units from the Kern County Sheriff's Mounted Search and Rescue. On this day, members of the CLMRG found a Bud Ice beer bottle located in the sand in Anvil Canyon, adjacent to a bush approximately 1.7 miles downstream from the van's location. The bottle matched those found in the van. It appeared a ledge had been brushed clear of rocks, and someone left a large seat print next to the bottle. The placement of the sitting spot on the easterly side of the bush suggested it was to shade from a late afternoon sun. This clue was to be the first and last found in the initial search. The area searched this day covered much of Anvil Canyon from the van easterly to its mouth at the Warm Spring Road. Day 2 of the search, October 24th, brought additional teams and expanded the search area. In addition to CLMRG, Indian Wells, and the Kern County Mounted Team already on site, SAR teams arrived from Nye County, Nevada, and Inyo County. Areas searched this day included more of Anvil Canyon, portions of Warm Spring Road in Butte Valley, Mengel Pass, the area adjacent to Warm Spring between the canyon mouth and West Side Road, and from the van location easterly to the head of the canyon at Willow Spring. There were also 2 helicopters involved this day, both for searching and shuttling supplies and searchers. Day 3 of the search, October 25th, expanded it even further. A team from DVNP searched the area between the mouth of Anvil Canyon and the far side of the main valley at Badwater Road. An SAR team from Victorville searched the southeasterly perimeters of Butte Valley. A BLM ranger began a search of the route on the west side of Mengel Pass between Ballarat and Barker Ranch. A team from Lake Mead NP searched from Anvil Canyon northerly, over the mountains and down into Butte Valley. The Indian Wells team did an intensive search around Willow Spring at the head of Anvil Canyon. CLMRG started from the middle of the Anvil Canyon, then went north, then westerly. The same 2 helicopters were still at work shuttling supplies and searchers, as well as searching. The 4th day of the search, October 26th, was the final day. The DVNP team checked areas northerly of Warm Spring Canyon, as well as mine areas a lost person might have sought shelter in. The Victorville team performed searching around Strip Butte in the Butte Valley. The Lake Mead team also checked Strip Butte, as well as walking the Warm Spring Canyon Road. The BLM ranger on the west side of Mengel Pass continued searching that area, as well as other possible routes the party may have used if travel westerly towards Ballarat. The Indian Wells team searched the vicinity of Warm Spring Road and West Side Road when some footprints had been found. A vehicle SAR team from Apple Valley, new to the search, searched areas along West Side Road from Warm Spring Canyon Road northerly, where a party may have sought shelter. Finally, aerial recon was made via 2 helicopters in all quadrants surrounding Anvil Canyon, but was hampered by high winds. At the end of the day, with no new clues found since the beer bottle on the first day, and no hope whatsoever that the party would be found alive, the search was called off. This was truly a massive search performed by a very competent search team. The CLMRG people alone are some of the best in this part of the country. There are over 45 searchers in the field and 2 helicopters in the air at any given time, and 8 horses on the ground. Costs for the search were approximately $80,1996. It was estimated by a DVNP spokesperson that 250 people were involved in the search at one time or another. The areas searched were well reasoned and a high probability of success was expected. Unfortunately, even a high probability is not a guarantee. In the years since 1996, numerous additional searches were made, some by search and rescue teams, some by private groups. CLMRG, in particular, made a number of trips back to search additional areas and examine mine shafts. Searches by private groups tended to be more informal and less is known of them. Two of the most prominent individuals in this area included Dick Hasselman, a retired professor at Virginia Tech, and Emmett Harder, who had prospected in the Butte Valley area for many years. Both had conducted at least several searches in the area and wrote reports of their findings. Aside from these occasional searches, things remained calm and peaceful in Anvil Canyon. During his involvement with this incident, Emmett Harder had been granted access by the Inyo Sheriff's Office to view the pictures recovered from the Germans' camera. Due to his familiarity with the area, he recognized the sunset picture, looking easterly down into the main valley as having been taken in the Hanupa Canyon, located about 17 miles northerly of Warm Spring Canyon. Given the presence of the Germans at the DV Visitors Center on July 22nd and their Warm Spring logbook entry of July 23rd, this suggests the Germans made camp in the upper regions of the Hanupa Canyon the night of July 22nd. A couple of environmental conditions at the time of the incident are worth mentioning. Death Valley in summer can be a formidable experience, especially backcountry travel. Even experienced desert travelers with well-equipped vehicles may give second thought to such an idea. At the time the Germans vanished in Anvil Canyon, the following temperatures recorded near the park headquarters at Furnace Creek. Listed is a graph from the dates July 22nd to July 24th, with a high of 124 to a low of 91 degrees Fahrenheit, or 51 to 33 degrees Celsius. However, due to the higher elevation of Anvil Canyon, the temperatures were somewhat more moderate. In dry conditions such as the areas around Death Valley, the air temperature typically drops approximately 5.4 degrees Fahrenheit, or 3.05 degrees Celsius, for every 1,000 feet in altitude gained. At the van's location of approximately 3,000 feet, it would have been about 17 degrees Fahrenheit, 9.5 degrees Celsius, cooler than Furnace Creek. Thus, the high temperature at the van's location on July 23rd would have been about 107 degrees Fahrenheit, 42 degrees Celsius, and the low around 79 degrees Fahrenheit, or 26 degrees Celsius. The other environmental condition is the phase and rise set times of the moon. On July 23rd, 1996, the moon's phase would have been technically that of a first quarter. This means the moon's disk was half lit and half dark. It would be best described as a half moon. Moonrise would have been at 1:24 p.m., and the moon would not have set until 12:34 a.m. on July 24th, thus providing light past midnight. Are you still with me, listener? Still awake? That concludes the introduction to the case of the missing Germans. I'll be bringing you more content related to this, and trust me, it'll get more exciting as we go along. But for now, the introduction will suffice. Thanks for tuning in, and if you like that, please subscribe, and have a good night. you.